I'm here this afternoon with Kamal, Saleem. I had the opportunity to hear you last night in Kerrville, and it was absolutely outstanding. You have a very unique story, and for my audience, I would like to share that story with them. Begins back in Beirut, I believe, as a little boy.
That's correct.
So raised as a Muslim.
Correct. So, well, this is true, and thank you for the privilege for having me, Kat. And here's the thing: I love my Muslim family. I love the Muslim people. They're created in the image of God. God loves the Muslims. They are generous. They are beautiful. A lot of great quality about them. But my issue is with Islam, and because I was hostage to Islam myself, until I had the true living God speaking to me. My story starts in Beirut, Lebanon. Born to Muslim Sunni family in Beirut, Lebanon. A large family, lived in a 3-room house, a living room, bedroom, and a kitchen. The teaching of my mothers and my father, they were the ultimate things that I lived on. This is where my madrasa started, my schooling, and it was Islamic madrasa. By the age of 5, I was learning how to read the Quran, and I was learning how to read it, by heart, learning, as my mother, read it before me, and I was listening, and I would repeat after her, and all my brothers did the same thing. From there.
So you're drilled on it daily?
Well, it was during, the summertime. It was during the school time. What happened is our Muslim school come first, and our Muslim school, it is not the normal school. My mother, father came from the Ottoman Empire, fell in the Ottoman Empire out in 1924 upon the dismantling of the Neo-Ottoman, and therefore, my grandfather moved to Lebanon running for his life from, what's happening in Turkey, and there he instilled in my family the identity of Islam, the character of Islam, radical Islam, and what's our job to be and to do. He, therefore, in Beirut, what happened is we didn't have a whole lot. We were a very humble, poor family, but we had a lot of teaching of Allah. I dreamt about to please Allah, and I rejoiced. It was everything that I wanted to be. I didn't know anything about anything else, but I looked forward just to know what Muhammad did, the Prophet of Islam, and what Allah said. So I was learning the Quran, the Hadith, the Seerah, the just traditions of Islam, all of it. I was moving into that presence. At the age of 7, my father got me out of school. There in school, what happened is I started going to work every day, and now I'm attending the mosque, the neighborhood mosque. In the neighborhood mosque, I was recruited.
Wow.
And,
recruited for?
Recruited by the Muslim Brotherhood.
Okay.
The Muslim Brotherhood came in 1928, 4 years after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, to specifically re-establish Islamization of, radical Islamization, and establish Islamic State, just like what we're seeing now with ISIS and what we're seeing with Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab. All of them are moving forward to establish Islamization, radical Islamization. So therefore what happened is the Muslim Brotherhood, their theology and everything they believe in is to re-establish this and bring it about the caliphate, or as we say in Arabic, the Khalif or the Caliphate, and so therefore, and that means the man who would take the place of Muhammad. The woman cannot take the place of Muhammad. It's only a man, because the man is the head always. He is the one in charge, and the woman is not. So therefore what happened is, and instill Sharia law throughout generations and throughout, governing, specifically the Western governing. Why? Because by infiltrating Western civilization by Sharia law, we can establish Islamization of Western civilization, because Sharia law is made as a political system.
Yes.
And Islamic constitution, which is Sharia, it is a political system. It's only 14% religion. The rest of it is military, civic, banking, economic, everything, every level of government. So therefore, we were learning there in the mosque what is our purpose. And the purpose of Islam, Muhammad spoke about the Great Commission of Islam. And the Great Commission was, he said, Inni umartu an uqatil al-shu'ub. Allah has commanded me to war against the people of the world.
Wow.
All of them, until everyone throughout the world says there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is Prophet.
Mhm.
And this is the first tenet of Islam, which is, this is the corner, that's just, the foundation that
Cornerstone.
where everybody has to stand on, because you cannot be a Muslim unless you testify to this. So therefore what happened, he said, and if do not concede to you, you have the right to their women, to their children, to their home, to their finances, to their land, to their government, to everything they own. It is your inheritance.
Wow.
So therefore that is the Great Commission. So everything we did not have, and because that they are not Muslims, we have the right to everything they have. But ultimately, if the man, the head of the household, does not convert, then we will kill him. And if when we kill him, then we will inherit everything he has, because he's the head of the household. The second part of the Great Commission, it says, the days of Islam will not come about until the Muslim arise. Arising in Islam is totally different than any other religion or belief. Arising in Islam, it is the call to jihad. And what is that? Because in Islam, the first call came, every Muslim, 164 verses in the Quran says that every Muslim must participate in jihad. It is the call of the Muslim to commit jihad. But jihad goes to different ways. Not all jihad is hitting building or shooting people. There is multitude of jihad. What they did when they hit the twin tower, that was one flavor only. But the greater jihad is the financial jihad. This is when we see the money coming from the Saudis, the Kuwaiti, UAE, the Qatari, the Omanis, and so therefore what happened, they are investing in jihad, because the Quran says if you could not fight physically, you must fight financially or by any other means.
Wow.
So therefore now the path to us it's called Sirat al-Mustaqim, is the straight and narrow path. And that is, there is no other, conclusion. It was one to fulfill the purpose of Allah. And unlike Christianity or Judaism or, Islam is by work. You could not please Allah by, just believing in religion. You must establish Islamization. And da'wah is one part of it. The first jihad is only 3% of all jihad, which is, it's called al-wala' wal-bara'a. That is to believe what Allah told you, to love what Allah said and commanded you to do, and the second part, to hate everything He commanded you to hate. So if in the Quran, and He spoke against the Christian and Jews, the destruction of the Christian and Jews and unbelievers, multitude of times, that is the will of Allah. And we see Muslims today that they tell you, that was for that era. It's not happening today. This is called a lie. This is al-taqiyah. Why they are lying? Because it is in itself jihad. Jihad is to lie to your enemy, to deceive them. And when you deceive them, you can enslave them. So this is why a lot of American people, they see the good part of Islam, but they don't see the bad part. While they thrive on your culture, they don't understand that those who submit to Islam and start supporting them, and they are not Muslims, they would be the first one to be killed, whether they're pastors, whether they're rabbis, whether whatever. That's Islam history. Read the Islamic history. It's all over the Islamic history. So therefore the other jihad is financial jihad, it's political jihad, it's jihad of the womb. How to see the civilization. You integrate into civilization and you bring multitude of children. For example, in France, for any culture to withstand itself, they must birth 2.11%. If they go below this, what happened? They fail to replenish.
Yes.
Because when you have two children, what happened? You're replacing the wife and the husband. But when you have 2.11%, you're having 3 children. And that is you putting one extra to bring somebody to bring more.
Yes.
The French culture declined, and so therefore their birth rate is 1.8%. When we look at the Muslim in their state, in the state France, we see 8.1%. So they have 9 children to every 1.5 French child. you know.
Wow.
So therefore, by sheer birth, this will take over the culture. That's why we need to engage. Having children is good, abortion is bad, because
Yes.
we are destroying our culture little by little. So, but then you have the other jihad. You have al-taqiyya, which is lying by omission, and lying to deceive your enemy purposely, only to defeat them. You have hudna. Hudna is one thing that a lot of people do not understand what hudna is. That's what the Antichrist will make a peace treaty with Israel. It'll call peace treaty, but in Islam there is no peace treaty. There's only hudna, and it has 10-year limit on it and must be broken any time after you make it. Just like, for example, Hamas will come and make truce or peace treaty with Israel, and a day later they start shooting 700, 800 rockets and kill innocent Jews that they thought the war stopped. So this is strategy of jihad. So these are the jihad that the Muslim don't want you to know about, and every Muslim will tell you jihad doesn't exist.
And you were trained in this starting at the age of 7?
Oh, I started at the age of 5 on my
At the age
mother's
of 5?
day. Yes.
Wow.
Because my mom instilled in me, she said, my son, if you kill a Jew, if you kill a Christian, your hand will light up before the throne of Allah, and the host of heaven will celebrate what you did. Meaning, this is what we're commended to do, my son. At a young age, I was riding on the street of Beirut. The people of Saturday first, the people of Sunday second. We're going to kill the Jews first, and we're going to kill the Christians second. Well, guess what? The Christian being killed first right now. And they're being ethnically cleansed throughout the Middle East. And we're seeing the Islamic State, which is, a lot of people said they are not Muslims. ISIS is the true Islamic State. And you're going to see more Muslims joining ISIS to the point that ISIS is going to become the majority. And the fact that our government refused to destroy ISIS, but only to help them, to increase them, without, stopping them, that says something. They want this to happen. So this is today we are seeing the increase of all this by subjugating America and the Western civilization to radical Islamization. From there, we went to the civil war in Lebanon. At 7 years old, when I was, with the Muslim Brotherhood, a few months later, the whole group joined a special group called Fatah. Fatah is the pre-PLO. Fatah is an Islamic group. They're Palestinian, and the name Fatah itself, it came from the Quran. And where is it? A lot of people say Yasser Arafat is a socialist movement. They don't believe in religion, so therefore they are not Muslim. On the contrary, it is not true. Yasser Arafat was part of the Muslim Brotherhood. He was recruited in Cairo University, and they're the one who helped him because Hajj al-Amin al-Husseini, one of his great-grandfather, he was the one who slept with Hitler, and he made a peace treaty with Hitler and brought millions of dollars that were taken from the blood of the Jewish people to disallow the Jewish people to come to the Middle East. And he raised 2 regiments in Europe by Kosovo and Bosnia, and they killed more Jews and Christians than any other group. So that's a Yasser Arafat bloodline. So the Muslim Brotherhood helped him to become who he is. Later on, they became the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. And that's what the American people need to understand.
And you were a part of the PLO, correct?
Yes, we joined Fatah. We were a group out of Fatah. Our group called, Al-Asifa, which is the tornado, and that's our group, which is we take it by force. And so therefore we were training as commando at 7 years old. I was training as a commando. I was training. We were doing frogging, in the water, what the Navy SEAL do. We were doing military, mixing
At
chemicals.
7?
Yes, that's the best way. Instead of giving a toy to a child, instead of giving SpongeBob SquarePants, give them an AK-47. Instead of giving them just a game to play on a Wii or Xbox, give them a knife.
Wow.
Or give them a couple chemical to mix. Guess what? They're going to learn. They're going to be the best scientists when they grow older. And why? Because we have course, and we must establish we have a fire inside of us. At 7 years old, I went for my first mission to Israel. Through the help, through Syria, by the help of Hafiz al-Assad. I was not going to kill people. I was carrying weapon caches as a child soldier, and rendezvous with the shepherd and give it to the shepherd, and the shepherd will move it in the sheep, strap on the belly of the sheep, take it to Israel, give it to a special group called Fidaiyin, part of Fatah. These guys will kill the Israeli and kill themselves. So they used us as child soldiers because the Israeli never thought people like us will do such a thing. And that's why Israel took the Golan Height, because we were coming through those mountains day and night. You know, on my second mission, it was strapped. This is when I lost all my brothers. And that's why I called my book, The Blood of Lambs. These are the lambs that they were slaughtered, and they don't know why they're being killed. We were 7, 8, 9. We had no understanding. We were lied to. They said, we're going to give you the keys to paradise. Go and possess.
Wow.
And so we thought, we're here. The second mission, I was praying, Mama. This is my life as a child. From there, we went to the civil war in Lebanon. And our job was to ethnically cleanse the Christians. Kill the Christian ethnically. Just move them out. And a lot of people don't know that it started with Fatah. Not the PLO, the Palestinian. We started it. You know, they started the fight, and they killed the leaders' children on a Black Saturday. That's when it happened. And then, so what happened is...
What year, time frame would that have been?
I was a young lad, and I can't remember a date, to be honest with you. So, but I was, you know, I was born in the 50s. So it was, you know, I was just barely young lad.
So sometime in the 60s probably then.
Somewhere in, or a little bit, you know, middle 60s, upper 60s. So this is when it's all started. And we failed from killing, because first we were going to kill the Christians, and we're going to turn against the Shia and slaughter the Shia, because the Shia. So, but first we're going to allow the Shia to fight with us for the same purpose. Me and my brother against my enemy. And, you know, and me and my brother and cousin is against my, you know, so later on we're against each other. And we killed more of each other than we killed of the Christians. Why? Because Israel came to help the Christians. Israel saved the Christians. We hated Israel because they saved, you know, they saved them, and now we were running for our life because they knew how to fight, and we could not defeat them. Every time we did something, we lost war to them. My story started there, you know, until we went to do European stealth jihad, which is, you know, civilization jihad. And we went to Europe, we found Europe was falling. Because there's nobody minding the church, nobody minding the government. The laws, European laws, are so easy to penetrate and break. And as long as you are, because they regarded us as, you know, they respected us and loved us as foreign people, but we took advantage of the system. And we were buying the system, and we were giving money to, we were corrupting the system from within. Why? Because we have petrodollars.
Yeah.
And as long as the, you know, European and American are buying Saudi, Kuwaiti, Bahraini, Iraqi, Syrian oil, what happened is we will have the upper hand because you need us. And that's why they have thousands of lobbyists down in DC lobbying all these senators and all those House representatives to disallow energy in the land, including our current administration. They disallow it because they want us to be dependent on oil. So therefore what happened is, you know, and what happened is my world was changing. I saw Europe falling, and we were just mocking Europe because we're just taking their women and marrying their women and obtaining the citizenship and changing the culture from within. But then after Tora Bora, you know, after, you know, when the Russian invaded, you know, Afghanistan, what happened is when we found over there the American fighting, you know, they came to train the Afghanis as we came to train the Afghanis. We didn't go to fight over there. That was at the beginning. We went to train. And as we were training, we found that the American people were there. And our commission is to disallow the American people from winning another war for the Muslims. Because the Americans were winning wars for Muslims and give them peace. Destroying tyranny and give them peace. Just like Saddam Hussein when he took over Kuwait. Just like what happened in Kosovo and Bosnia. Just like what's happening all over the Middle East, you know. And so you see, American come to hold those radical and establish peace so people like, nominal can have a good normal life. From there, what happened is when I saw the American, it came to my knowledge that these people are offering their children, their blood, their virtues, their weaponology, and everything they have for us to save us. And I was really turned upside down because I thought there's no way we can this war, because we Arabs, we're Muslims, are not committed. And that's what I wrote to the Saudis who sent me to Arab, or I was financed by the Saudi government, certain royal family. And I said, we're going to lose this war. These people are committed, and we are not. We are divided. And unless we have other understanding, we're not going to win this war. And so what happened is, they said, America is the final frontier. And we've been working on America since 1960. My first group of the Muslim Brotherhood came to the United States in 1960. I came somewhere around the 80s. And when I came over there, our job is to do stealth jihad, to change the nation while the nation slept.
We've been doing a really good job of sleeping at the wheel.
Well, 9/11 did not help. 9/11 woke America for 1 week.
Yes.
Because America is used to Arnold movies, to many other movies.
Yeah.
It's another building falling. It's another few thousand people get killed, and it's a movie.
Yes.
And so when it hit them, what happened? Even the secular went to the church and they started praying for a whole week. After a whole week, everybody went back to where they where they came from, and we went to greater sleep because they didn't want to snooze. They want to deep sleep. Well, guess what? ISIS is here. The Islamists have penetrated. They've been crossing for years. Our job is to radicalize the moderate Muslims, that they come in by the Saudis, by the Qatari, by the Omanis, by the this, by that. They come in here by the Kuwaitis, by the UAE. They send them here, and we radicalize them here, and we'll have an army in here. These people are coming in peace. But here, we'll turn them to massive military. They are crossing by education, getting visa to education. But the second part is they're getting married to the American women.
Yes. Yes.
And by obtaining the citizenship, then they have the sword of the Constitution to destroy the Constitution itself, destroy America. And Americans have no idea, so a lot of these men are falling in love with these girls for purpose. And we hear those stories one after the other. Divorce, many of those girls are beaten down severely, and some of them left this nation, they could not come back. They kept them hostage in those places. They lost everything. It is horrific, and the problem is the American government knows about this, and they still allow this purposely. So,
for the sake of time, because boy, you've got such a fabulous story, and there's so many details, things that everyone needs to hear. But I'd like to kind of roll the clock forward a little bit, because you're no longer a Muslim. You found, or Jesus found, you. And will you share that story as to how that occurred and what that's meant to you coming out of that background?
Well, it's not just me. There are millions like me. He's appearing to ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, PLO. He's appearing to many radicals like me, and he is changing things. In Boko Haram, he's been appearing there, for a whole village been converting, because he's been appearing to entire village, because they're going to go, fight against the Christians second day. And it was the glory of the living God that's coming and making a difference. Jesus said, I will build the church, and the power of hell cannot prevail. He said, the heaven and earth will pass away, but not one letter of my words. My word will pass away. Everything will come to accomplishment. So let's hold him accountable to his word. Is he a real, true God? Is he capable of doing such a thing? Well, where's the other gods? Well, he's appearing all over. I was watching Al Jazeera TV. On Al Jazeera TV, an Imam Ahmed was being interviewed, and he said, we have a phenomenon in the Middle East. And he said, every hour of every day we have 667 Muslims coming to Christ, converting to Christianity. He didn't say coming to Christ, he said converted to Christianity. Every day, 1,600. 6 million every year, 10 years in sequence. He's appearing to the Muslim everywhere, whether Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Kurdistan, Indonesia. It's happening all over the Muslim world. Why? Because God made a promise.
With that happening, you were talking about the birth rate earlier and how, just by population, the Muslims, it's projected that by 2050 that they will outnumber the Christians and all. But with this conversion, will that shift the tide?
Well, it has been, and it's making a difference. Unfortunately, a lot of them are being killed because, unlike, to the Muslim, the American people, the Christian and Jews are infidels. But somebody who, like a Muslim who converts, is an apostate, or she's an apostate. An apostate is the enemy of Islam, number one. So they must be lynched, killed in the most horrific way, slowly. What they make them pain and death, And so therefore what happened is, Muhammad says, whoever leaves Islam, kill him. It's a command. It's not asking, it's a command.
Yes.
So therefore what happened is, when these people are leaving, a lot of them are, being killed. A lot of them are making their way to the West. Some other people making, just living underground. It's happening. Iran is the fastest growing church in the world today, in Iran. And, and it's happening all over the world. But here's what happened. So here I am in the United States of America. I'm going from point A to point B, and I get in a car wreck. I eject out of my car. I fracture my neck in 2 places.
Wow.
And my entire body is just devastated, the left side, and I'm crying, Allah, where are you? And here, behold, this man came running to me and he said, son, we're going to take care of you and everything's going to be all right. And this man is speaking in deep southern accent. and I'm looking at him and I said, Allah, I asked for your help. Why you send me a redneck? So I didn't understand, because I thought southern accent people are, backward. That's what we were taught.
Yes.
So therefore what happened is I wake up in the hospital, the emergency room, and another doctor, comes, another person came and he said, we're going to take care of you and everything's going to be all right. I wake up in the hospital second day, another doctor telling me the same word verbatim. And these are, I look at them as conspiracy in a way, because they speak in the same language, and it could be diabolical, like Satan is after me. And little did I know that God has a plan and has a story for each and every person in the world. And I have arrived to my story. And one day at the hospital, as they were discharging me, these men came to the hospital that day and they were fighting who's going to take me home. And now I went with the surgeon to his home. In his home, I was honored. I was given the best seat in the house, the best room, and they treated me like a prince. These people were loving me, and I was thinking about, boy, these people are going to find so much about me, how I'm going to kill them. And these people showed me something that's called unconditional love. We don't have unconditional love in Islam. Everything conditional. Today you're my best wife. Tomorrow, if you do dishonor me, I have the right to kill you.
Yeah.
I have the right to divorce you and marry somebody else. There's no conditions here. So therefore what happened is everything is... and all of a sudden I start realizing that my God, Allah, the God of Islam, and the God of Christian and Jews are not the same God.
True.
They're 2 different gods. One, his name is Jehovah, God Almighty, and one, his name is Allah. Allah pre-existed Islam. There was over 360 Allah at one time in Kaaba. God of Allah of fire, Allah of water, Allah of sex, Allah of this, Allah of that, but here there's one God. And so therefore what happened is, when I start looking at the characters of the 2 gods, this is when I start discovering who I was. One said, I so love the world, and he created humanity in his image. And he gave life. And he said, I so love the world that I've given. This God says, if the whole world worth a net leg to him, he would destroy it time and time again. So the attribute between the 2 were just opposite polar. Well, let's continue. This one so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. What happened? He said, whoever believes on him shall be saved. Right. This man came and he looked upon humanity, and he brought spirit of adoption of Jesus Christ to graft everybody to the tree of life, to the living God, and give them hope, and give them future, and give them purpose. The other God brought a man that he was an orphan man. It was an orphan spirit, to take them from the grafting and from the promise. And here you are no longer you have to work. You have to believe in him and do what he asks you to do. This one, you must be slave to him and do exactly what he's telling you to do, to, by what Islam ordered. This one gave his life. This one took over 270 million lives. This one came to the blind man in the temple. He said, bring him to me. He opened his eyes. This man, what happened when he saw the blind man and he said, I want to be a Muslim? He said, you're not good enough for me. You're blind. I can't use you. He needs warrior to fight. The prostitute was coming to be stoned. She didn't even ask Jesus to save her. Jesus looked at all those guys, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He said, let those without sin cast the first stone. He said, woman, where are your accuser? Go sin no more. The prostitute came to this man and she said to him, I want to be a Muslim. I want to leave what I'm doing. He said, you're prostitute. You're defiled. Because it's a religion of the flesh. It's not the religion of the spirit. There's no intercession. There is no life. There's no encounter with God. There's no miracles in Islam. So everything you don't know when you die where you're going. Every Muslim believes that they're going to go to hell first, because the Quran says, وَكُلُّ مِنْكُمْ وَارِدُهَا. Every Muslim will have to go to hell. He commanded her stoning. He was the first one to hit her with a boulder on her head. And now, that's what they do to these women. This became law. This became law. And we saw the same thing on the shores of Tripoli, Libya. There, ISIS stood there and they brought those Christian men. As these Christian men were being beheaded, these men were speaking forgiveness to these men. And these men were exercising their belief, and these men were exercising their belief. Who is the greater belief? Those who are being killed, and they're asking forgiveness for those who are killing them. That is the power and the glory. And therefore, when I looked upon all this, and I was seeing what's happening, and go like, could I be the bad guy in here? And so one day when they sent me home, after they paid my debts in full and didn't know how I was, and they befriended me, and they became, these people have relationship with their God. They have relationship. They're real, they're loving, they're kind, they're gentle, they're generous, they're everything. Their fruit is so spoke for their everything. And how the man treated his wife like a queen. He didn't treat her like another queen or another woman. She was his equal. All this changed my life. How they taught their children to be honest, to be sincere, to be leaders. I'm going like, here's an idea.
Wow.
And so all this was making, and the relationship with their God, when they say, I heard God speaking to me, I was going, wow, God speaks to you? I served Allah all my life. He never spoke to me once, not once, and I've done a lot of things for him. So the fruit is in the, as they say, it's in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. So what happened is, when I went home and they let me go home, they freed my debts and they replaced my old car with a whole better car.
Wow.
And then they sent me home, and I'm going home, and I felt defeat for the first time in my life, and I don't want to go back to my old life, because I found out we are deceivers. The way we're doing things, we're a liar, and our father is a father of lies, and we are filthy liars. And we are deceiving the culture to destroy it by our lies, so we can establish radicalization of this culture. And so as I fell on my knees at home, and I looked toward Mecca, I lift my hand up to heaven and I cried to my God, Allah, Rabbi wa Mawlay, my Lord, my King, why have you done such a thing to me? I'm not talking about the car accident, because I live to die for you. I want to die for you every day. But I was put with Christians. These Christians, they have a God, and they call him Daddy. They have a relationship with him. They have miracles daily. They cry for breakthrough, they have it, whether physical, spiritual, financial, emotional, marriage, whatever it is, He's speaking to them. Immediate healing is taking place. God is speaking to them, and people come and speak about the same thing because He spoke to multitude. I want to have a relationship with you too. I want to hear that you love me. Allah, if you are real, I want to know you. Well, guess what Allah said? Absolutely nothing. That day I came to look myself and I thought, there's nobody on the other end. And I doubted everything. And I thought, the teaching of Islam says, if you challenge Allah, Allah will kill you. I said, Allah, if I die today and I see your face, because I thought I'm going to go clock out, put the gun in my face and clock, get my head off. And because if I go to my dad and say, Daddy, I don't want to go in this, my brothers will hold me and my dad will cut my neck off.
Wow.
If I go to my comrade and tell him the same thing, I will be underground for the rest of my life. I will be dead. They will kill me, because that's one-way ticket. There's no two ways about it. So I thought, I'll do it myself. So that day I called on Allah. I said, if I die today and I see your face, and you say, Kamal Saleem, I'm going to send you to hell because you killed yourself. I'm going to say to you, I'd rather live in hell than live with you. Because I asked you, I called upon you, I sought your face, and you did not answer, you did not speak. I'd rather live in hell because you're not real. And I shrank my head. I was so afraid that what He's going to do to me, and nothing happened.
Wow.
And as I went, I became the joke and a joker. I was laughing at myself so hard, and I was crying laughter because I lost my mind that day, because I thought life is not real. Everything is facade, and I have no purpose anymore. The only thing I know is what I do, and now I have no place to go. What do I do? And as I want to reach for my gun, I hear this God speaking, and He spoke like a father. He knew me by name. He knew my everything. He called me 3 times better than my mother's voice when I was sick with high fever. He knew me, and He said, Kamal, like a son, He spoke to me. And when I heard that voice, He said, Kamal, the Muslims, and the Jews and the Christians, they call on the God of Father Abraham, and they pray to Him. Won't you call on the God of Father Abraham and Isaac and Jacob? I realized that God is a God of family, and He's very proud of His family. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He did not mention Ishmael.
Nope.
When I heard this, I fell on my knees, and I put my hand to the heavens, and I cried out with a loud voice, God of Father Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. If you are real, speak to me. God of Father Abraham, if you are real, I want to know you. Well, behold, the room was filled up with His glory. His presence filled the place. And He stood there, and His name was Yahweh. The Lord is one. He was the center of all things. The heaven and earth, they were filled with His glory. Life is created in Him. He is the light of the world. He is the center of all things. In Him, all things created. In Him and everything about Him. He is the living God. And I said, who are you, my Lord? He said, I am that I am. I said, well, what is that supposed to mean? I'm a Bedouin. I have no clue. He said, I am the Aleph. I'm the Tav. I'm the beginning. I'm the end. I am everything. I have known you before I formed the foundation of the earth. I have loved you before I formed you in your mother womb. Kum, Kamal, arise. You are my warrior. You are not their warrior.
Amen.
That commission came about. And that commission is given to every Christian when they cross over. And our warring is the war in the love of the living God. Conquer hate. Conquer injustice. Conquer everything out there that we've been accused with.
Yeah.
So therefore, as I rose up, my knee was intact, my neck was intact, my collarbone, everything was broken, was perfectly fit. But the greatest miracle was, it was not the bones, it was the heart and the mind. I was transformed. The transformation changes everything because you're standing before the presence of the living God. He's dressed like a Jew, he looked like a Jew, he spoke like a Jew. He has holes in his hand and his feet. And he is not scared. He is God. And there as he stood, I said, my Lord, I will live and die for you. I gave my life to him right away. I'm standing before God. His knower is in my knower. And now I know who he is. When you stand before God, you don't have to ask him to prove himself. You already know. And he said, do not die for me, Kamal.
Yeah.
I died for you that you may live.
Woo. So good.
And I said to him, bid me, my Lord, by the skin of their teeth and by their eyelashes, I will make them Christians, Muslim style. I will go and make conversion. He said, the harvest is plentiful. The workers are few. Be an ambassador of mine. Life all of a sudden was nothing. And the book like was shut down. And things has changed. A new chapter was created. And now I'm walking somewhere else. It is not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, declares the Lord. Guided and led by the voice of the living God, knowing who I am, I know who I am. And there, in that place, there's a fullness. There's a relationship with God. God loves you. If you're a Muslim, just ask God. Tell him if you're real. Speak to me. If you have not had any relationship with Allah and he has not spoke to you, why don't you try Jesus? Just say, Lord Jesus, if you are real, speak to me. I want to know you. He's appearing to millions of us. You know, he's not asking for our blood. He's asking for our heart. He wants to give us a love. It's a gift that keep on giving. And he's not asking us to kill and perform. He's asking us to give our life for others. It's totally different place. I invite you this month of Ramadan, my brothers and my sisters, as you are asking for the divine, ask the living God to reveal himself to you. And open your heart. Say, I want to know you. If you are real, speak to me. I hope to see you on the other side. And if you are one of those, I pre-welcome you to the Muslim, my Muslim brothers and sisters out there. I welcome you to our family, because it's a family of God. I love you, and I pray for you day and night. You are his image, and he loves you very much. Come home.
Wow. Thank you. I think that's the perfect place to end. Or actually, it's a beginning for all of those that just did what you asked. Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to hearing you this evening, and we'll be videoing that as well. So God bless you, and may he continue to direct and guide your steps.
Thank you for taking the time to do this. Appreciate you. God bless you too.
Thank you.